Also breaking developments in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie tonight. The FBI is now exploring whether she might have been taken across the border into Mexico. Also tonight, what Walmart is now doing after that video of that man at Nancy Guthrie's front door. And tonight, as they continue to analyze DNA found at Nancy Guthrie's home, DNA that was not hers or anyone in her family, we look at the new technology that has been used in some recent national cases to look at forensic genetic genealogy. And could it be employed here? Aaron Kotursky in Tucson for us again tonight.
Day 79. No arrest, no suspect, no confirmed detention. And yet, if you opened social media yesterday, you would have thought this case just broke wide open. You would have thought Nancy Guthrie was finally coming home. She isn't. Here's what actually happened. A rumor started moving fast. The kind of rumor that spreads before anyone stops to verify it. Someone claimed a person had been detained in connection with Nancy's disappearance. The story jumped from platform to platform. Comments exploded. People shared it as fact. Then a reporter asked Sheriff Chris Nanos directly. His entire response was one word. Nope, that's it. One word. The rumor was dead before it finished spreading. But here's what that one word doesn't tell you. It doesn't tell you what's actually happening inside this investigation. It doesn't explain why the FBI is now testing evidence that sat in a Florida lab for 11 weeks. And it doesn't explain why deputies are being pulled away from investigating Nancy's disappearance to manage the chaos happening outside her front door. That's what tonight is about. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old. She is Savannah Guthrie's mother. She vanished from her Tucson, Arizona home sometime between the night of January 31st and the morning of February 1st, 2026. Authorities still classify this as an abduction investigation. I'm going to show you exactly what they're not saying, and why it matters more than anything that went viral today. By the end of this video, you'll know the real forensic story behind the FBI's evidence. And you'll understand the hidden force that may be slowing this investigation down more than anyone wants to admit. If you want the truth behind the headlines on this case, not the rumors, subscribe right now. Because what's being reported and what's actually happening are two completely different things. Forget what went viral. Here's what's actually sitting in the evidence file right now. The FBI is currently testing a hair sample collected from Nancy Guthrie's home. Now stop. Before you let that feel like a breakthrough, you need to hear the full story. This is not new evidence discovered in April. This is not a forensic development that emerged from fresh leads. The sample was collected back in February, in the immediate aftermath of Nancy's disappearance. Investigators pulled it from the scene weeks ago. And so, why are we only talking about it now? Because of where it went first. Here's the forensic story behind what the FBI is actually testing, and why the timeline should alarm you. That hair sample was not sent directly to the FBI laboratory. It was sent to a private lab in Florida. The FBI requested that evidence more than 2 months ago. And yet, the sample only recently made its way to federal analysts. Do the math. February to April, 11 weeks. 11 weeks between collection and federal testing on what may be the most critical piece of physical evidence in an active abduction case. The biggest forensic headline right now is not discovery. It's not a breakthrough. It's not progress. It's delay. And delay in a case like this doesn't just slow things down. It raises questions that nobody in the mainstream media is asking loudly enough. Then who decided to send the sample to a private lab in Florida instead of the FBI? Why did the FBI have to request it rather than receive it automatically? And after 11 weeks inside a private facility, what does that mean for the integrity of what's now being tested? We don't have those answers tonight. Law enforcement hasn't offered them publicly. But the question of what happened to that sample between February and April isn't a small procedural detail. It might be the most important question in this entire case. And it's not the only thing being quietly ignored, because the delay in the lab isn't even the strangest thing happening around this case right now. While investigators work the case, something else is happening outside Nancy's home. Deputies in Tucson have increased patrols in her neighborhood, not because of a new threat, not because of a suspect in the area, because online creators and influencers keep showing up. Let that land for a second. Here's the hidden force slowing this investigation down. And it has nothing to do with a lack of evidence. Law enforcement resources in an active missing persons case are not unlimited. Every deputy redirected to manage foot traffic outside Nancy's home is a deputy not working the case. Every hour spent on crowd control is an hour pulled from investigation. And here's what that pattern actually looks like when a case becomes content. Here are 5 things that happen when an active investigation gets consumed by online attention. 1. Rumors move faster than verified facts. We saw that yesterday. A false detention story spread across every platform before the sheriff had time to respond. 2. Cleared names get recycled. Thomas Otion has been named repeatedly online. On February 16, 2026, Sheriff Nanos publicly stated that the Guthrie family, including siblings and spouses, had been cleared as possible suspects. That announcement didn't stop the speculation. 3. Investigators get pressured to respond to the internet instead of the evidence. Every public denial costs time and resources. 4. The scene gets contaminated, not forensically, but informationally. When dozens of creators visit a neighborhood, legitimate tips get buried in noise. 5. The victim disappears behind the content. Nancy Guthrie, a missing 84-year-old woman, becomes a case number in a comment section debate. So here's the question I want you to sit with tonight. Is online attention helping bring Nancy home, or is it consuming the oxygen that investigators actually need? Tell me in the comments. Do you think the online attention around this case is helping the investigation or hurting it? I want to know what you actually think, because while the internet was arguing, law enforcement was quietly building a very different picture. Here is what we actually know. Here is what law enforcement has officially established. This investigation is still classified as an abduction. Authorities base that classification on physical evidence from Nancy's home and the scene around it. They haven't walked that back. They haven't softened it. 79 days in, abduction remains the official posture. The Guthrie family, including Nancy's children and their spouses, was publicly cleared on February 16, 2026. That's confirmed. That's on record. The FBI didn't stumble into this case last week. They requested that hair sample more than 2 months ago. Their interest in this investigation predates every viral rumor, every influencer visit, and every trending hashtag. Think about what that means. Federal investigators identified that hair sample as significant in February. They asked for it in February, and they still didn't receive it for 11 weeks. If that detail just made something click for you, subscribe. Because when this case breaks, you need to be here for the context, not just the headline. Now here is what has not happened. No suspect has been publicly named. No arrest has been made. No detention has been confirmed. In an active abduction investigation, law enforcement silence about suspects usually means one of 2 things. Either they don't know who did this yet, or they do, and they aren't ready to move. And neither answer is comfortable. Both answers demand that we keep paying attention to the right things. Which do you think it is? They don't have a suspect yet, or they're building a case against someone they've already identified? Drop your answer below. I read every single one. And that is exactly why what comes next matters more than anything that trended today. Set aside the rumor, set aside the lab, set aside the influencers and the patrols and the sheriff's one word: come back to her. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old. She is someone's mother. She is someone's grandmother. She walked into her home on January 31st, 2026, and she didn't walk out. Day 79 is not a media cycle for her. It is not a content opportunity. It is not a trending topic. It is 79 days. You now know more about this case than most people who've been following it. You know about the 11-week forensic delay. You know about the evidence chain that raises questions no headline answered. You know the difference between what went viral and what's actually true. That knowledge carries weight. What do you think is the single biggest obstacle standing between Nancy and answers right now? The forensic delay, the online noise, or something we haven't been told yet? Tell me below. Subscribe if you want to be here when this case breaks, because when it does, you'll want context, not just headlines. If you have information about Nancy Guthrie's disappearance, contact the FBI directly. 1-800-CALL-FBI. Nancy is still out there. Someone knows where.